time for cooking lab number 3, fudgy chocolate brownies. As always, get your ingredients out before you get started. Make sure you have your materials. When you're leveling your flour, scoop it up, make sure your cup is full, and then level it off. You want 1 1/3 of a cup. So there's my 1 cup, and here's my 1/3 of a cup. Same leveler because I'm working with the flour. And you can see the flour on the leveler, so now I need to get rid of that and get clean materials for my next item. So now I need 1 cup of sugar. Scoop it up, level it off. I used a butter knife that time instead of a leveler. Now we're on to my mother's 1970s Tupperware measuring scoop, so I can get 1/3 of a cup of cocoa powder, leveled that off with another clean butter knife. And look, I spilled a little bit of cocoa powder. You want to wipe that up right away. I wouldn't use my dishcloth to wipe up cocoa because it does stain. It gets really chocolatey. Then it's on to my baking powder, which makes them rise a little bit, just a half a teaspoon. Then I want a half a teaspoon of salt, which I measure over the sink. Make sure you close the spout. And then I'm into my wet ingredients. So I'm going to do things a little differently for this one. I'm going to pour up just under a half of a cup of vegetable oil. So that's my canola oil. And you can see it's just a little smidge below the half cup line. And then when I'm pouring up my half cup of water that comes next, I want to be just a little smidge over the half cup line. So I stir together my dry ingredients, and then I'm going to dump in the oil and the water, and I'm going to measure my vanilla in next, so I have all of my wet ingredients in and stirred together. I'm measuring my vanilla over to the side this time over an empty measuring cup. It's just a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. Make sure you stir it all together, and this batter is a little bit different. It's going to come together and almost look like Play-Doh. It's really, really rich and thick. So as you're stirring, make sure you get all of the dry parts and the lumpy parts and that stuff worked in. You're not over stirring this one. If you continue to stir it, it is going to come together again to look a little bit like Play-Doh, I think. This particular kind of brownie batter is really, really heavy, and it's different than some that you might see that are a little more liquidy. But it is really easy to scoop up with a spoon and drop into your measuring cups because it doesn't drip off of the spoon for you. So make sure you put a little bit in each cup. Make sure you level them out and you have them about even. Remember, if they're a lot bigger or a lot smaller, they're going to bake a little bit differently, and you do want them all to bake out at the same time in your oven. Once you've distributed out your leftover brownie batter, and it is important to use it all up, we don't want to waste it, then you're going to bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for at least 15 minutes, and it might be closer to 20 depending on the heat in your oven. When you check them, you use the toothpick technique like you did with your muffins, and you want the middles to be cooked through. So you can see in this close-up, there's no gooey parts in there, although a little bit of gooey isn't so bad in a brownie. Some people actually prefer them that way. And that's it. Fudgy chocolate brownies. Easy as easy could be.